Hunger Games! The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is out. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Yes, it's out. And I gotta tell you this. I liked this movie. I liked being back in this universe of Pan Am. I did. I felt like it was cool to be back there. Does this movie have its flaws? Most definitely. Acting is not one of them. Tom Blyth as the young President Snow did a great job. Rachel Zegler was also in this. She was actually pretty good too. Really good. But it does have its problems. Let's go over to the IMDb. I'll read you the synopsis. Coriolanus Snow mentors and develops feelings for the female District 12 tribute during the 10th Hunger Games, directed by Francis Lawrence. Yes, Rachel Zegler's Lucy Gray Baird, Tom Blythe. Viola Davis is in this. So is Peter Dinklage, and he really stands out. But for me, the real standout that really caught my eye in this was Hunter Schafer as the sister. And she's only in a few scenes, but she stuck out in my mind because recently there was that report that people wanted her to be the Zelda, the live-action Zelda in the Zelda movie. And when I saw her in this movie, I was kind of like, I could see that. Who is she? I want to know more about Hunter Schafer. Okay, what's wrong with this movie? It felt like it was two movies in one movie. There's a big section of it that deals with the Hunger Games and Rachel Zegler's character going into the Hunger Games and stuff like that. And, okay, is he going to fall in love with her? Is this supposed to be a romance story? And then about halfway through, it changes into a totally different movie. Well, actually, not even halfway through. 3/4 of the way through. It turns into this other movie where it's like nothing to do with the Hunger Games. And you're like, okay, he's not quite bad yet. He's not quite evil. I'm waiting for this thing that will turn him bad. And it's kind of like, it felt shoehorned in at the end. It did. Which kind of sucks because Tom Blythe, I think, did a good job. You believe him. And you believe their chemistry here too. Yeah, you do believe that he cares for her. It was just the execution of that story. It felt like, it didn't feel like it was a normal 3-act structure. And I was looking for those kind of barriers of like, okay, if he is the main character, then things should be unfolding towards a climax here. Things should be ramping up to going into the 3rd act. But now, because this main event of the Hunger Games, which kind of like cuts through the middle of the film, happened, it felt like that would have been a logical conclusion to the story, but it's not. And you're just kind of left going on and on. And one of the things that has a detriment to this film is the runtime. This movie is 2 hours and 37 minutes. And when you feel like you've got two movies crammed in there, it's kind of like, it feels bloated, guys. It feels like it's doing too much. So I acknowledge that, yes, it felt like it was doing too much, but I forgave it because I liked being back in that universe. I did. There's just, the director caught that. So looking at the basic score for me, acting, directing, and story are out of a possible 2 points each. I'll give 1.5 for acting. Yeah, directing, I'll give a 1 for right now. The story was interesting at parts with Viola Davis kind of being like the game master, and then Peter Dinklage kind of like being the schoolmaster to Tom Blythe's Coriolanus Snow, and it's kind of like mentoring him, but not really. It's kind of like he's in an adversarial role, and because of that, things felt a little bit muddled. So I can't give the story all that great, but it was just great being back in that universe. That's the way I would say. As a preliminary score. Cinematography and score, like the soundtrack, are out of a possible 1 point each. It was serviceable. Now, I could maybe give cinematography a bit of a boost, and I think I will, because it was shot extremely well. I can't knock it for that. Francis Lawrence did succumb to the shaky cam thing at times in his earlier installments that he directed. But overall, there's some breathtaking wide angle shots of like meadows and stuff like that. Uh, Classrooms are shot well. Uh, some horrifying imagery of like the hanging tree and stuff like that. But things are framed well, and that helped. It helped build out the world of Pan Am. Now, the Hunger Games itself part, which is exciting for a lot of people, I think, was also pretty cool. But there was that also part where it was kind of like, yeah, you're just standing on a green screen stage. Oh, that's green screen smoke. Uh, but all the stuff with practical nature and stuff all look beautiful. And you get these big, wide establishing shots of meadows and stuff like that to help sell the romance. And that worked for me. That worked for me. So I'll give cinematography a full point. Score, soundtrack, not so much. Maybe on a second viewing, but I don't know about that. I don't know. Let's go over to the tomato meter and see what people are saying about this movie. 64% by critics, 90% by the audience. So the audience liked it much more than the critics. And maybe they fall to the same thing that I did. I just liked the feel of it. I liked looking at it, the aesthetic of it. The story is kind of like, I wanted to know more about Snow and his sister. I did. Because as I said, Hunter Schafer did a good job. Just in the few scenes that she had, it just kind of like made me go, oh, I want to know more about her and what's going on with, like, he's protective of her and stuff like that. He's also protective of Rachel Zegler's character. Dinklage was good. Oh yeah, he was also really good. Jason Schwartzman, he just pops when he comes on. He's kind of like the TV announcer, like the earlier proto version of what Stanley Tucci's role was. And he just pops. And I like, it's no secret that I like Jason Schwartzman as an actor. He was one of the highlights of Asteroid City this year, if you haven't seen that. Viola Davis, I've heard people say that her performance was over the top, a little hammy. I don't think so. Oh, there's Hunter. Yeah. Great. Great screen presence. And based on that, I'd say it's worth checking out. Now, if there's people out there saying that, oh, it's woke, I don't know if I want to see it, James, because it's got Rachel Zegler in it. I heard all these things that she said about Snow White. There's none of that in this movie, okay? There's no social commentary in here about saying you should look down on certain people a certain way or you should grow to evolve a certain. There's nothing like that. This is just about these two characters basically, and his basic. Well, they're laying the groundwork for his big evil turn. Now, does he do evil things in this? At the end, he does. It's kind of like the accent. Oh, here it is. So it's kind of like, okay, he's there, and I know there's not a second book, but I would be open up to seeing more of this. I would. Of course, if you know the movie, it'll be mostly all about him because he goes back to the capital after the events of what happens in this movie. So there's some good drama in there. And the director recently said that the final parts of the film where they're in the forest together is his favorite part to film and for them to shoot. And yes, I agree with that because Tom Blyth gets a chance to stretch as an actor and show you what he can do. And that's where it's kind of like, oh, okay, I can see him becoming the evil guy that we know as Snow. I can see that now. And it's handled in such a way that's cool. It's just, it felt like a different part of the movie. It felt like a totally different movie, actually. So it's kind of like that, that mix is going to be off-putting for a lot of people. But I liked it. I like this movie. If it was on in the background, I would watch it again. But I wouldn't go out and own this on Blu-ray. So let's wrap up my my score for this and see what where the chips fall. Watchability factor. If you're a fan of the Hunger Games movies before, you'll definitely want to see it. It's got an interesting premise, and I think it's worth even seeing twice. Whoops, where's that? 1.5. There we go. So 6.5. Do I feel good about a 6.5 for the Hunger Games Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes? Could I stretch that into a 7 perhaps? Where would I give it to? Would I give it to the story though? Huh. I'm conflicted. Maybe I'll give it to the acting. Yeah, give it to the acting. Right there. Because as I said, Peter Dinklage is good, Tom Blyth is good, Rachel Zegler is surprisingly good in this, um, and it does kind of give me high hopes that perhaps they can turn around the muster of what that Snow White movie is going to be about. Uh, but yeah, I think it's worth the look. 7 out of 10 for The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I don't think it's going to be one of the better movies of the year. I don't think it'll end up on anybody's top 10 lists or anything like that. But it's a passable movie. It's a bit long though. Let's see what other people have said about it. I am curious about what other people are saying. Just to round us out here, from people who did like it, The Observer UK. Davis's deranged games designer Dr. Volumnia Gall and Jason Schwartzman's showboating comprare Lucky Flickerman justify the price of admission. So he's saying that there's some characters in there. Yes, I agree with Jason Schwartzman, Viola Davis. Who else in here? Uh, the Atlantic. Ballad may be bloated, and I said that, but it understands that the Hunger Games as a franchise didn't succeed because it had a clear political philosophy. It succeeded because it entertained. Yeah. Okay. Huffington Post didn't like it. It fails to validate its existence beyond the Hollywood routine of squeezing every dollar out of a successful franchise. It doesn't really add anything to the overall narrative. It's just more story and for no reason at all. No, I don't believe in that. Not for no reason. It introduced, well, and it's going to introduce a lot of people to Tom Blyth. So I'd go out and see it because of that, guys. And then if you just like the being in that world, they do a great job of showing you that world again, and how dark, how dark in nature aspects of that world are. I like that because there's the whole premise of the Hunger Games is uh, chaotic and I think sadistic, and that gets addressed in this movie. She keeps on asking him, "What are the Hunger Games for?" And it's kind of like, okay, so it's getting ingrained into him. The future presidents know that we know, but uh, box office wise, it didn't do so well at the box office. I don't know where it's going to land this coming next week because it's going to go up against Napoleon and Disney's Wish, which will just annihilate it. It made 44.6 domestically uh, last weekend for a worldwide total of 106, and this has a budget of around, well, 100 million actually. So yeah, we got some internationals numbers in there, so it's going to be okay actually. I think if that budget was around the $100 million mark, it should be fine. Um, because it's one of those movies where yeah, 100 million, 100 to 130 million, it's going to be fine then. Um, and I hope they go on and make more. And now I hope they also go on and say, because Jennifer Lawrence said that she would be open to returning to this, go into the future again, right? All right, that's my thoughts. 7 out of 10 for the Hunger Games Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Did you guys go out and see it on the weekend? Let me know, and we will talk about it for sure. Hey, if you like this kind of thing, what other reviews are up on the channel? Well, the Marvels review is up. Priscilla is up on the channel. We just watched Survivor episode 8 and Hell's Kitchen episode 8. Great episodes. And of course, then, we do movie news throughout the week. So come join us. There are my other social media handles. If you'd like to talk movies, TV shows, all right here on Mirror Domains. All right. Do we need to get back to the topics right away? Do we want to talk about Melissa Barrera getting fired, or do we want to take some live comments? Oops. Okay. Well, I think those comments are mostly about Ghostface. Yeah, so people want to get to the Melissa Barrera getting fired story. So we'll get to that. Oops. there's a shot in this where I was like, she's Zelda. That she so could play Zelda in the live action, but she's a little bit old if they're going to get a 15 to 20 something to play Link.